Steel jobs built Steubenville, Ohio, and when they left, the town was never the same. For a time in the 80s and 90s, the population here shrank faster than any place in America. But in the midst of all that change, there's been one constant: Big Red football. In the football-rich Ohio Valley, Steubenville High School has always thrived.
Touchdown, Big Red, 6-0.
Winning 3 state titles since 1984. But this bright spot is now experiencing perhaps one of its darkest chapters.
Shame on you! Shame on you!
This rally was for a 16-year-old local high school girl who was allegedly raped in late August by 2 16-year-old members of Steubenville's storied Big Red football team, quarterback Trent Mays and wide receiver Malik Richmond. The alleged crime became a national story, largely because of a series of tweets by current and former Steubenville students that often referred to the alleged victim with harsh language.
What's unique about this case is the social media. And really, the victim continues to be victimized every single day.
Prosecutors from Ohio Attorney General Mike DeWine's office are handling the case.
We all have an obligation to kind of look out for each other in this world. That was absent that night.
It was August 11th. Trent Mays, a promising sophomore quarterback, tweeted about a huge party that night. According to court documents, Mays, Richmond, and a group of friends met up with the alleged victim at a house party where they all drank alcohol. At a second house party that night, the girl became so drunk she couldn't walk on her own, according to several witnesses. This photo was passed around on social media that night. Prosecutors say it's the alleged victim, unconscious, and being carried by Richmond and Mays.
That picture speaks 1,000 words and shows that, in my opinion, that she clearly was unconscious and not capable of any consent.
Bob Fitzsimmons is the attorney for the alleged victim and her parents.
That's one of the issues in the case. She's unconscious, so she can't be a witness to explain to the judge or to the court or to the media or to anybody else what happened.
At a hearing in October, prosecutors further described what they say happened that night while the alleged victim was unconscious.
They knew she was in that position and they kept going. She was a toy to them that night. She was treated like a toy that night.
According to 3 separate witnesses, the group of teens eventually wound up at this house. Outside the Lines is not naming the 17-year-old Big Red football player who lives here because he hasn't been charged. But prosecutors say he used his cell phone to videotape a portion of the alleged rape, which can be a crime in Ohio. They told the court in an October hearing he was filming it, and that's how he got a good look at it. And his camera had a light, and that's how he could see it. There's the rape. The 17-year-old testified he deleted the video the next morning. According to court documents, he and 2 other Big Red athletes stood idly by while Malik Richmond and Trent Mays raped the unconscious girl.
Trent said that he did not rape her.
He used those actual words, "I did not rape her"?
Yes.
And you believe him?
Yes.
Outside the Line spoke with Brian and Linda Mays in their first ever interview about their son's case.
When your son gets arrested for something like this, what's your reaction to that?
It was the middle of the night when they came and took him away.
They showed up about 1:30 in the morning, and they brought 3 or 4 squad cars, 4 or 5 sheriffs, and they had the spotlights out in the window.
We had police at the door, and they shone the spotlights, and they were around the back of the house. Can I take a break?
Yeah.
That night and that next day was probably the longest day of my life, because I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know what was going to happen.
This was the tweet sent out by the victim's ex-boyfriend.
Former Steubenville resident Alexandria Goddard is a social media analyst who started researching the rape case not long after word of it spread on the internet.
I think I was just really floored
at the lack of compassion and empathy.
It was Goddard who drew attention to the case by posting the tweets of several Steubenville teens, including this one by former Big Red athlete Michael Nodianos, who tweeted, "Song of the night is definitely Rape Me by Nirvana." Nodianos, who didn't respond to interview requests, was also the central character in this video, shot the night of the alleged rape and later posted on the internet.
And is it really rape because you don't know if she wanted to or not? She might have wanted to. That might have been her final wish.
It's obnoxious, it's disgusting, it's horrible. It re-victimizes the victim, but he wasn't there. So what he's saying is really not relevant to the case.
DeWine says Nodianos made the video after the alleged rape in a different location, but Goddard says that misses the larger point.
What was more disturbing to me was the fact that there were all these kids at various parties, and they knew that this girl was unconscious and being taken from place to place, and no one stood up to do anything.
Outside the Lines has obtained copies of letters sent by the Attorney General's office to the 3 teens who witnessed the alleged rape. The letters state that while the 3 young men may not have acted in, quote, a responsible or appropriate manner, unquote, they won't be prosecuted, even though the 3 admitted that they didn't stop an alleged rape or report it to anyone. That's only fueled the public's perception that prosecutors cut a deal in order to obtain key testimony from the witness stand at the upcoming trial.
We made no deal with them. There was no deal cut.
How is that not a deal?
A deal is if you ask someone, we're going to cut you a deal, you'll testify, and if you testify, here's what we'll do. We never had that conversation.
Do you understand the anger and the frustration some people have that these 3 men, young men, also did not face charges?
No one can defend what happened that night. There are no heroes that night. But that's not the issue. The issue is whether or not there is evidence to prosecute individuals.
Longtime Big Red head coach Reno Sawkach allowed 2 of the 3 teens who witnessed the alleged rape to continue playing football for weeks during the investigation, a move roundly criticized by some concerned about a football-first culture in Steubenville. The school superintendent would not allow Sawkach to comment to Outside the Lines. As the 3 teens who witnessed the alleged rape prepare to tell their stories in court, there is more disturbing news. Another report of a sexual assault of a minor in Steubenville, this time a 14-year-old girl.
There's various stories she recanted, she didn't recant. The bottom line is a girl was assaulted, allegedly assaulted.
Outside the Lines has learned that alleged assault occurred in April at this house at a party hosted and attended by several Big Red athletes and referred to by the teens as Palooza. In this video after the alleged rape of the 16-year-old in August, Michael Nodianos appears to make a reference to the alleged rape of the 14-year-old.
You thought it was bad when that girl got raped at Palooza. This is worse.
That alleged incident in April involving the 14-year-old girl also played out on social media through a series of tweets. First-degree rape, read one post after the party where the girl was allegedly sexually assaulted. What a great night.
Is there anything to suggest that any of the parties who were involved in this other case were involved in the April case?
I really can't comment about that investigation. It is an ongoing investigation. I can't comment about it.
As one rape investigation continues, Steubenville braces for more national media coverage of the trial involving the 16-year-old alleged victim. For many, it's a time for closure and reflection on the lessons learned.
Parents need to have that open dialogue with their kids. Teach your child that sometimes when you're standing up to do the right thing, it means that you stand alone. If one kid would have stood up at any of those parties, we wouldn't be talking about this today.